Ever wonder how some songs just seem to shift effortlessly between major and minor tonalities, or just take you to unexpected places harmonically speaking? Well, the secret is borrowed chords, and you're about to learn all about them in this upcoming excerpt from a live stream I did with music theory specialist Tommaso Zilio. In it, you're going to learn what borrowed chords are and how to use them in your playing. Borrowed chords add a ton of color and emotion to the progressions you play on guitar, and they're easier to use than you might think. Now, before we get into the video, if you could like it right now, I'd really appreciate it. It'll push it out there into the world of YouTube for others to find. And if you like the content I release each week on the channel, I'd love it, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel. All right, let's get to it. From my own experience, there was a thing that I would see for many, many years in songs, and I wouldn't understand it on a theory level. I didn't know why, but I saw it enough that I recognized patterns with it. And I eventually learned that it was borrowing chords. And so once I knew that concept, I could take it so much further because I could be very deliberate with it. So if someone's got no idea on what borrowed chords are, where would you start with that?
The simplest application is this. It's you want to take the major key and the minor key with the same letter. So I don't know, C major and C minor, or A major and A minor. Those are called the parallel keys, okay? Because the root is the same. Let's pick A major and A minor. Root is the same, A. All the chords are different because in one case you have some notes, in another case you have other notes. You write your chord progression in A major, but whenever you want, you can take a chord from the A minor scale and use it in your chord progression. So you are generally in A, and you can mix and match the chords of major and minor. This whole thing will still sound more on the major side. That's because the major scale is structurally more stable. So your ear, when your ear hears major chords and minor chord, the chords from the major scale and chords from the minor scale, your ear thinks it's mostly major scale, but it will get a different flavor. So in A major, I have all those chords like A, D, E, A, F sharp minor, say, okay, basic stuff, B minor, E, basic stuff. I can borrow a chord from A minor. So for instance, I could play A major, D major, borrow a chord like C major, which is borrowed from A minor, and then E major. So my chord progression is mostly A major, because I have the A, the D, and the E. But I put this C major somewhere. Okay, it has a specific feeling. You can feel kind of like of a dip in energy, okay? It's like you are traveling on a road and there is a hole, okay? Okay, so this happens. I could have borrowed other chords from C minor, from A minor. I could have borrowed the F chord, so we sound this way. I could have borrowed more chords. I could have just gone A and say C, F, and E. I could have borrowed a minor chord. I could play D, then D minor, borrow from A minor, E, A. I could have played only A major and then all chords from the minor scale. So I'm playing one chord from A major, which is A major, and three chords from A minor, which are C major, G major, and F major. And I can play them in any order. Essentially, I'm mixing major and minor, okay? And this works in several different styles, okay? It's very typical to hear this, for instance, in grunge music, okay? You guys know what grunge music is, no? That's practically what they're doing in grunge music. They keep mixing major and minor. Of course, some of them know the theory, and some of them don't, and they just do it by ear, okay? But that's what's happening. They are mixing two keys, major and minor, with the same root. It could be A major or E major, A major mixed with A minor, okay? They are not relative, by the way. They are parallel. A major and A minor are parallel scales because they have the same root, A. One is major, one is minor. Relative keys, it's a different thing. Nothing to do with that, okay? In relative things, the two scales have the same notes, but not the same root. So A major, it's relative with F sharp minor, because if you spell out all the notes in both scales, they have the same notes. That's the difference. We could go way more in depth, but we start to get late here now. Okay. There is a question that if you borrow every chord but the one, does that make the one chord a borrow chord? That is technically true. But the thing is, when we borrow chord, we always borrow chord from the scale with the most sharp is the main one, and the scale with less sharps is the secondary one, and we borrow from that one. There is nothing logical on why this is. It's just that when you hear two scales with the same root, like A major and A minor, your ear picks the scale with the most sharp as being the fundamental one. Why your ear does that? That's a very long explanation, okay? But there is nothing logical in that. It's just that we found out by the experiments and listening, etc., that that's the case. So psychologically speaking, what you hear is that you are borrowing the chord from minor, even if out of 4 chords, 1 is in major and 3 are in minor, it still feels like you're borrowing those 3. Those 3 sounds kind of off. When you come back to A feels like home. If you end in A minor, it doesn't feel like home. Because you change it, okay? Some stuff in music theory is not logical, mathematical logical, because the point of music theory is not to give a mathematical explanation to music. The point of music theory is telling you what your ear does. And your ear does a number of irrational things, okay? There's plenty of things we do in music that amount to auditive illusions that we use to create music. And we just do it because we are kind of leveraging the way your ear perceives stuff. So lots of music theory, it's not logical. If you look at the whole system of sharps and flats, it's not logical, okay? I mean, A sharp and B flat are 2 different notes, even if on the guitar they are the same thing. But in some situation, your ear can tell the difference because it depends on the context. So it's good to have 2 names, even if it's the same note, because your ear sometimes think it's 2 different things, okay? So if your ear does something irrational, music theory has to do something irrational too, so that it stays coherent with what your ear is doing. In other words, if you think something in music theory is definitely not logical, it's not music theory's fault. We are just trying to explain to you how music works and how a human ear perceives all this stuff.
If you like this video, then you'll love this free workshop called Dynamic and Compelling Ways for arranging music to accompany a singer on one guitar. In it, I teach and train effective ways to create amazing sounding arrangements for a single guitar and vocal. So whether you're someone who would like to be able to create the perfect arrangement of a song, or a singer-songwriter who would like to be able to accompany themselves on guitar, or a guitar player who would simply like to have more ways to express themselves on the instrument, then this workshop is for you. Better yet, I have an actual singer on hand throughout the workshop to demonstrate all the concepts covered so you can hear just how effective they are. Everything is put to the test. No theorizing, just practical ways to create arrangements of songs that sound amazing. Plus, you also receive a PDF booklet that complements the class, offering tools and concepts you can use as well as worksheets for your arrangements. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free video workshop, Dynamic and Compelling Ways for Arranging Music to Accompany a Singer on One Guitar. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments below this video what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. I like to read through the comments to see your suggestions. There are many great ones that do become future videos on the channel. So don't be shy, drop us a line. If you like this video, then hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button. That way YouTube will tell you when I've got a new video released, which is every single week. Thank you so much for hanging with me here, watching the video. I hope you got a lot from it. I really do appreciate the time you invest into watching my videos, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next one.